Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 5 questions in about 10 minutes, and I'm very excited to welcome our guest today. This is Prantik Mazumdar, and he is all the way from Singapore, and so I'm very flattered and honored to have him here with us. It's middle of the night for him when we're recording this, so I really appreciate you coming on, Prantik. But Prantik is the Managing Director of the CXM Group of Dentsu International. So Prantik, again, thank you for being on the show. What would you like the audience to know about your work with Dentsu International?
Thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, my work at Dentsu International essentially entails growing a business group within the Dentsu International family, which has 3 specific arms. There's a creative arm, there's a media arm, and there's a CXM arm, which is the largest and the fastest growing part of Dentsu International. So my remit is to help grow that business across Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. So I'm in charge of that specific P&L.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm sure that keeps you very busy.
It does. In fact, I just got back a while ago from an APAC leadership meeting, sort of discussing a quick review and the strategy going forward for the coming year.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Well, let's jump to our questions. Our first question, I'm sure there's been a time in your working career where you had maybe a struggle or a conflict with a coworker. Maybe briefly describe that and then share with the audience how you resolved it.
Certainly. I think, a conflict, and there are many such conflicts, but, so when I was running a business called Happy Marketer, which we eventually sold to Denso, with my co-founder, I think the conflict. So again, I think the moment I use the word conflict, a lot of people, or even me myself, tend to perceive it like a heavy duty argument or a fight. But firstly, I don't think it needs to be that way. I think a conflict can be fairly healthy if the culture sort of encourages or sort of enables and supports it. So I think in my example, the conflict has been with my co-founder simply because we come at problems from different lenses. It could be, for example, the 2 that comes to mind is, should we focus on a specific service line, or should we expand into multiple and diversify? So, just by sheer nature, I'm someone of a volume guy and I like to diversify and expand. His mantra was, let's stay focused, let's go in deep. That was one area of regular conflict. The other one being, in terms of new market opportunities, do we sort of just, again, focus on Singapore and, because Singapore is a small country, but the purchasing power per capita is very high, or do we expand into the neighboring 10 Southeast Asian countries? So as you get the drift between me and my founder, he is more focused. I am someone who likes to expand, who likes to try out, experiment, and diversify. So these were regular conflicts, but the way we sort of, discussed it, or the way we sort of managed it, is I think we made it a rhythm. We said, instead of having these conflicts by chance, let's build it into our rhythm. Let's have regular scheduled time for conflicts to bring it up so that we don't let it swell within, because, you don't want it to sort of create a negative energy. But the moment it becomes a part of a regular rhythm that, okay, let's say Wednesday, second half, we will discuss only conflicts. We will air out whatever we feel, or whatever we feel uneasy about, or we feel there's a unhealthy tension about. Let's put it out on the table. Step 1 is that, literally acknowledge and to put it out on the table. Step 2, let's put forth our discussion. Let's have a healthy debate, and it's fine. Then we had a process saying, look, moment it's out in the open, a few things could happen. Either we could agree to disagree, or somehow either each party will convince each other, or once in a while we would get a third party, a mediator, or we would get another colleague to say, hey, chime in, what do you think, right? And let's sort of break the tie. But I think the biggest learning for us was 2 things. A, make it part of your rhythm and schedule. Don't leave it to chance for it to sort of swell and boil up into something larger. B, try and sort of discuss it like adults. And if you can't break the tie, just bring in a third party objective voice.
I love that approach. And I love that you guys scheduled time to discuss the challenges, because that's something that too many people let just kind of bubble up. And then it's a problem, a big problem that gets a lot harder to resolve. So that's a great strategy for helping to resolve conflict, is to just simply make sure that you schedule some time for it. Great tip. Thank you. Well, Prantik, I'm sure that you've heard the phrase, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. What's one tip that you have to help leaders retain their talent longer?
And this might sound a bit contrarian, but in our business that we built in, we never like managerial positions unless and until the manager is adding value. And when I say by adding value, it's either of two things, either increasing revenue or decreasing costs. Because to me, all businesses, whether you're a hair salon or a digital marketing business or a tech business, it's run by a single formula: profit equal to revenue minus cost. So I think what we learned the hard way is, I think, having managers just to sort of manage talent and people management, I don't know if that's sustainable or that's right, because you just create a lot of fat and a lot of approval layers and a lot of hierarchies. So I think one thing that we did away with, and to your question, is we literally said we ideally don't want managers. We want a flat hierarchy where everyone is sort of leading themselves. Everyone's either driving revenue or reducing cost. Now, having said that, if you do have managers, I think one thing that's really helped us from our experience is he or she is also a doer. He or she also carries a target, because I think we just believe what's worked for us is leadership through action. So it's not just general managers who are managing people and managing projects. You have to lead by action. You've got to lead the pack, just like you would do in a sports team. You're a captain, but you're a playing captain. You have to play as well. You have to score a goal. You have to score runs, whatever that may be. But you've got to lead by action.
I like that. Great tips again on how to lead and retain talent. Great comments. Question number 3, how can a team build resilience and help them kind of prepare for the future a little bit in that regard?
Yeah, great one. I think, philosophically, I think what we sort of try and, when we build organizations or teams in our culture, I think there's one philosophical thing that we speak about is focus on the variables that are in your control. Worry only about things that are in your control or your influence at most, but anything beyond, either ignore or escalate, because there's only that much you can do. So I think it's important to be cognizant of our strengths, weaknesses, and limitations, and maximize our strengths and focus on what we can influence and control. So that's one thing. And I think if you sort of imbibe that mindset in your daily habits and lives, I think automatically you build a positive mindset. You are focused on problem solving. You're focused on impacts and results, and you worry less about things that you can't really. And that, the more you do that, I've sort of learned that you tend to build resilience, and you tend to sort of, especially during downturns or bad times, your mind automatically goes and tells you, hey, look, it's a bad time. It's an economic crisis. It's COVID. But guess what? What is it that I can do? Can I control this? Can I influence people about this? If yes, let's take the action. Otherwise, too bad. So I think it's about having that mindset to focus on solving problems by focusing on your strengths and not worrying about things you can't control.
I think that's fantastic. Great strategy. Focus on strengths and work from there. Great ideas. Great. Thank you. Question number 4. Is there an example or a person that you'd like to recognize that has helped to shape who you are and your leadership?
Yeah, I would like to call out my very first boss. I started my career with the Singapore government. For those of you who may not be familiar, Singapore is a tiny place, but the government's hence extremely proactive. Unlike Europe, unlike US, where, it's the economy, it's bottom up. In Singapore, everything's top down. It's very much, it's democratic, it's capitalistic, yet it's sort of centrally planned, simply given how small it is. So I used to work for a government entity that helped local enterprises internationalize, take them overseas, just given how small the market is. If you're wondering, Singapore is only 5.5 million, so smaller than most cities from where you guys may be based in. So there, my very first boss who hired me, Andrew Kaur, I'll never forget the lesson he sort of taught me right in my first week. He had given me a project to sort of work on, a concept to develop. So I came back to him with 20 reasons why that would fail. And I think I loved his response. He basically said, look, thank you. But guess what? I knew at least 18 of those, and I don't think I hired you to tell me the problems. For each of those problems you've identified, tell me a solution or propose one. And if you propose multiple, help me prioritize and tell me what you would do. So I want to hear your point of view, your opinion, your advice. I'll make the decision, but I need suggestions and solutions. And I think that had a huge impact, because I realized by nature, by evolutionary methods, we are always geared to look out for problems and the dangers, simply because our mind tells us fight or flight. What's the problem? Where's the challenge? Or where's the villain? Where's the enemy? But I think we've got to use our evolved brain to sort of, if you've read Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, how do I use system 1 and system 2 thinking to say, okay, let's take a pause. What are some solutions? They may be right or wrong, they may not work, but let's use our brain to research, to deliberate, to think, to debate, to come up with proposed solutions, with prioritized suggestions, and then we can take a decision or a call. So I think very thankful to Andrew for sort of putting that into my mind right in week 1.
That is a really impressive example of a leader who knows how to empower their people and give them some autonomy and let them problem solve. I love that. You're fortunate that you had somebody that was able to help you do that. So that is great. All right, our last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job. And it sounds like we may have heard just a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So yes, it was with the Singapore government, with an entity called International Enterprise Singapore, now rebranded as Enterprise Singapore. Essentially, the first 2 years of my life was to work with tech, mobile, media, telecom companies in Singapore. And my KPI was to help them grow their international business. That could be through acquisition, that could be through partnerships, that could be through joint ventures, or could be just by finding international sales. And the government, it plays the role of facilitator, and they do 3 things. You either provide them with connections using, the Singapore government is generally very well perceived and recognized. So the embassies and our counterpart, for example, in the US, we had offices in both the coasts as well as Texas, and we would use the Singapore government credibility and cloud to open doors with MNCs, with banks, with telcos, with government bodies to sort of facilitate deals. We would help them find M&A targets for acquisition. So connections is one, capability building is the other. So the government would have lots of programs in intellectual property development, brand marketing, design thinking to help enable these companies to differentiate themselves. And the third one is capital. The government would give out cash grants or tax breaks to encourage companies to go overseas, or what we used to call, how does a company become born global from day one? Because Singapore being so small, companies can't survive because we just don't have a large hinterland. So the whole point of the government entity that I was part of was to encourage, intensify, and motivate and sort of help companies, handhold them to some extent to go overseas. So absolutely fabulous, because they would take young 22-year-old officers like me, push us in the deep and say, hey, look, here's an industry vertical. Here are 20 companies in your portfolio. Speak to the CEOs, find out how big is international business for them, set goals, and then, take our initiatives, market them, and figure out a way to work with our international counterparts to help grow specific industry verticals. So I think it was a great stepping stone to, sort of kickstart my career, to leapfrog from a networking perspective, to get a great breadth. It wasn't great for depth, but it was great for breadth. You sort of understood industries and the value chain within industries. You built networks really well. You got great exposure because right from day one, you were sort of hanging out and working with CEOs and CXOs. So absolutely fabulous place and opportunity for me to start my career at International Enterprise Singapore.
That sounds like a great job. I'm really impressed. It really was a job that gave you a whole wide range of things that you could do. So that's a great first job. Well, Prantik, thank you so much for taking time again in the middle of the night for you to be on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Right on LinkedIn. So my name, Prantik Mazumdar. I'm sure it's going to be in the show notes somewhere. Just search for that on LinkedIn. I don't think there are too many Prantik Mazumdars in the world since the last time I checked. In case you want to use an identifier, just put Prantik Mazumdar Singapore. You should be able to find me and just drop me a message or follow me. And yeah, that's the easiest way to connect with me.
Fantastic. Thank you. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. And we also invite you to subscribe or follow the podcast on wherever you watch or listen to it. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.